All right, so everyone's been talking about this, right? Euphoria star Hunter Schafer and that passport protest.
Yeah, it's been all over the
But
headlines.
we're going to like go deeper,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
More than just the headlines.
We're going to look at like what it means for Schaefer, obviously, but also the whole trans community
Right.
and what it could mean for, trans rights in the future. So
Exactly.
it all goes back to when Schaefer, who's a trans woman, got her passport
Mm-hmm.
and it identified her as male, which,
Wow.
yeah, and it's all because of that executive order from the Trump era.
Right, right. The one that was trying to like get rid of gender identity
Yeah,
from all federal documents, right?
exactly. So it's kind of like,
It's almost ironic in a way, isn't it?
yeah,
That like you have a celebrity using their platform,
right.
for activism,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like going head to head with, this government policy.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
for those of us who like don't have a law degree, right?
Yeah,
Can you kind of break down like what is this executive order?
sure.
What's the legal argument behind it all?
So basically, the order claims to be all about like, biological sex.
Hmm.
And it says that passports have to reflect, the sex that's assigned at birth.
Okay.
And the Trump administration, they argued like this is all about simplification, right?
Okay.
Making administration easier and preventing fraud.
Right.
But a lot of critics, they're saying this is totally disingenuous,
Yeah.
that it's just an attempt to like erase trans identities.
I see. So it's like this whole framing around it.
Exact.
That's kind of like where it gets kind of sticky.
Absolutely.
Because for transgender individuals,
Right.
it's not just like about paperwork.
Yeah, it's not just a form.
It's about like who you are.
Yeah, it's like your whole identity is being questioned
Mm-hmm.
and potentially erased, right?
Like almost invalidated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And think about it. Like, imagine traveling internationally and your passport doesn't match how you present,
Right.
So you could run into like harassment.
Oh, wow.
You could have issues at borders,
Like actually getting into a country.
Yeah, or even just being denied entry into some places.
Wow.
So it's not just, an inconvenience.
Right. This is huge.
Yeah, it becomes a safety issue.
Like your own government is basically saying like, you're not who you say you are.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder Schaefer's like taking a stand.
Right.
Let's talk about that Instagram post that kind of like, set this whole conversation on fire.
Yeah, the one with her passport photo.
Right.
And the caption, "My passport says male. This is what resistance looks like."
Wow. That's powerful.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And she didn't hold back at all.
Uh-huh.
She added, this policy isn't about protecting anyone. It's about erasing us.
So she's like really making this personal struggle
Yeah.
public.
Very public.
Yeah.
It's like she's almost like daring people to ignore it.
Right.
But they're not ignoring it, though.
No,
Her post, it went viral.
of course it did.
Yeah, it sparked all those movements online, like, hashtag my truth, my marker.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems like she really, like, hit a nerve.
Totally. And I think that brings us to like the real core of it, right?
Yeah.
Because this executive order,
Right.
this isn't just some isolated thing.
No, it's not.
This fits into like a bigger pattern, right?
Absolutely.
Of like stuff going on.
You think back to, like, the ban they tried to put on trans people serving in the military,
Right.
or the restrictions on healthcare for trans folks.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
And what's even scarier is that this isn't just happening here, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like it's this global thing.
It's global.
Like all this anti-trans legislation popping up everywhere.
It's a trend, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's pretty concerning.
It is.
And you think about someone like Schaefer, with her career, it's global.
Right.
This isn't just some like theoretical thing.
Yeah, it's really...
Like this really impacts her.
Yeah, it affects her work, her travel.
So like what happens next?
Right.
Is there any legal way to like challenge this order?
Well, there are organizations like the ACLU.
Okay.
They've already started legal challenges, arguing that this executive order, it goes against the Constitution.
Nice.
They're really focusing on like the Equal Protection Clause and the Due Process Clause,
Okay.
which, those basically guarantee fundamental rights and protections
Right.
to everyone, regardless of gender identity.
But the other side, right.
Yeah.
They're not just going to like give up.
Oh, of course not. They're going to fight back.
Yeah.
You remember how the White House, during the Trump administration, framed it all? They called it common sense. They said it's about preventing fraud.
Right. Right.
And that narrative, it resonates with certain people.
I mean, it does, but it just feels so
Yeah.
different from, like, what trans people actually experience.
Absolutely.
And that's where the legal battle gets really interesting, right?
Mhm.
Because it becomes a question of which story holds more weight.
Wow.
The story of, like, efficient administration and fraud prevention,
Right.
or the story of human rights and dignity.
So this isn't even just about a passport anymore. It's like
No, it's not.
two totally different views of the world.
It's about, like, two different worldviews clashing.
Yeah, that's intense.
And the outcome of all this,
Yeah.
it could have huge consequences
Mhm.
for trans rights, not just here, but, like, globally.
Wow.
It could set a precedent for how governments deal with gender identity
Right.
and the rights of trans individuals.
Wow. Okay, so we've got a lot to unpack here.
We do.
Stick with us, everyone, because in part 2,
Go.
we're going to get even deeper into this, like the power of visibility, the
Mhm.
whole thing with celebrity activism,
Right.
and, the global context of this fight for trans rights.
It's a big one. So we've talked about how this passport thing isn't really about a passport at all.
Right, it's so much bigger.
Yeah, it's about identity rights, speaking up.
Exactly.
But the thing that gets me is, like, the ripple effect.
Oh, yeah.
What Schafer's done, like, it's not every day you see a celebrity
Right?
challenging the government like that.
No, not at all.
So directly?
That's what's so interesting about this whole thing. It
Mhm.
goes way beyond the legal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's about culture,
Right.
And Schafer being a celebrity, that amplifies everything.
Uh-huh.
It gives her message, like a megaphone,
Yeah.
way bigger than what a regular activist could get.
It's like she's shining a light on something,
Totally.
but a lot of people might not have even known about.
Exactly. And a lot of people still don't get it, the whole trans identity thing.
Right.
It's complex.
And, she's not just some random celebrity. She's an actress, and a good one.
Mm-hmm.
People love her, especially from Euphoria.
Oh, absolutely. Euphoria has been huge.
Yeah, and that show.
For LGBTQ plus representation.
Yeah, they really did a good job with that.
And her character, Jules,
Oh, everyone loves Jules.
a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah.
And that's where the power of seeing yourself represented comes in,
Oh, right. Like when you see someone you admire
Yeah.
taking a stand.
Someone you connect with.
Yeah.
It changes things,
It makes you think differently.
You can't just ignore it anymore.
You can't be like, oh, that doesn't affect me.
Exactly.
If you see someone you like going through it.
And it can inspire others to take action, too.
Like that hashtag my truth, my marker thing we were talking about.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking about.
Where people were sharing how their identities were wrong on their documents.
Mm-hmm. And Schafer probably had a lot to do with that.
Totally. Yeah.
She gave them that courage,
It's amazing how one person can do that.
It really is.
Like start a whole movement.
Powerful stuff.
But let's zoom out for a sec. We've talked about how this is a global thing.
Right.
But like, what's behind it all?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, why are we seeing all this anti-trans stuff popping up everywhere?
It's tough to say for sure.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Mhm.
Some people say it's a backlash,
Against LGBTQ plus progress.
Yeah, like a pushback because they've gained some ground.
Right.
But others think it's political,
Like a strategy
Yeah, a way for some groups to get more power.
to get people on their side.
Exactly.
It feels like it's tied into this, like, fear of change.
No, absolutely.
People are scared of anything different.
That's a big part of it. And that fear, it's being used,
You're about politicians.
Yeah, they use it for their own gain.
It's like they're saying trans people are the enemy.
Right, they make them the scapegoat.
To distract from other problems.
Exactly, to get people looking the other way.
And that's dangerous, right?
Oh, incredibly dangerous.
Because it makes it seem like trans people are less than human. Yeah, it dehumanizes them.
Which leads to discrimination and violence.
Exactly. It makes them targets.
So how do we fight back against that?
Well, it's a big task.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
But we have to challenge those laws in court, like what the ACLU is doing.
Right.
We got to like people who care about LGBTQ plus rights.
Yeah.
And we have to keep talking about it.
Raising awareness?
Yeah. Educating people, helping them understand.
So it's more than just information.
Way more.
It's about changing how people think.
It's about culture. Yeah. Yeah. Creating a world where everyone's accepted.
Absolutely. And that's where we all come in. We all have to look at ourselves.
Our own biases.
Yeah. And talk to our families, our friends.
Have those tough conversations.
Exactly. And when we see transphobia,
Yeah.
we got to call it out.
So it's personal, but it's also bigger than that.
It's both.
Like we need to change the whole system.
We need policies that protect trans people.
In everything. Housing, healthcare, jobs.
Everything, yeah.
And schools.
And we got to keep fighting those bad laws.
Like that passport one.
Exactly. We got to support groups like the ACLU who are fighting in court.
And tell our elected officials what we think.
Exactly. Make our voices heard.
So it's education, advocacy, legal stuff, cultural change.
It's all of it.
That's a lot.
It is, but it gives me hope, you know?
Yeah.
That there are so many people fighting for the same thing.
It's not just one person.
It's a movement.
It's a whole bunch of us.
And even small things can make a difference.
Right.
Donating, supporting trans businesses, volunteering, just learning.
That's what I'm taking away from all of this.
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming, but we can all do something.
Exactly. Wherever we are, with whatever we have.
We all have something to contribute.
It's a team effort, you know?
Yeah.
We got to show up for each other.
Lift each other up.
And make a world where everyone feels safe and respected.
For who they really are.
Exactly.
All right, so we've, really gone deep on this.
We have, yeah.
Legal stuff, cultural impact, the whole global thing.
A whole picture.
But now I kind of want to, shift gears a little.
Okay.
Talk about solutions.
Right.
What can we actually do
Yeah.
to make a world where, everyone's identity is, respected and affirmed?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, it is.
And there's no easy answer.
No.
It's a process, you know?
It's not going to happen overnight.
No, it's going to take time.
But there are things we can do.
Absolutely.
So where do we even start?
Right. It can feel pretty overwhelming.
Totally.
Especially when you think about all the bias and discrimination out there.
Yeah, that's deep-rooted stuff.
It is, but I think the first step has to be education.
Okay.
We have to challenge all those misconceptions and stereotypes about trans people.
Right.
And help people understand, build empathy.
But how do we do that?
Right. It's not magic.
No.
It takes work, you know?
Yeah.
We got to start early, like in schools.
Okay.
Teaching kids about gender identity and expression in a way they can understand, of course.
Age appropriate.
Exactly.
But it's not just kids, right?
No, it's everyone.
We all need to learn.
We got to support those organizations that are training educators, parents.
Anyone who works with kids.
Yeah, and the community in general.
And what about the media?
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
We've talked about how powerful representation can be, but it can also be really harmful.
Absolutely. The media can spread those harmful stereotypes.
So what do we do about that?
We got to hold them accountable.
Okay.
Make sure they're portraying trans people accurately and respectfully.
Yeah.
And we need more diversity behind the scenes.
More trans people making the decisions.
Exactly. Trans writers, directors, producers.
Yeah, so it's not just about, facts and information.
No, it's deeper than that.
It's about changing how people think about trans people.
It's about culture.
Creating a world where everyone feels welcome.
And that's where we all come in.
Right. It's on all of us.
Each one of us has a role to play.
So, what can I do?
We'll start by looking at yourself.
My own biases.
Yeah. Are you judging people?
Right.
Then talk to your people, your family and friends.
Have those tough conversations.
Exactly. And don't let transphobic stuff slide.
If someone says something.
Yeah, call it out.
Don't be afraid to speak up.
Exactly, because that's how we change things.
So it's personal, but it's also got to be bigger.
It's both.
We need laws and policies.
Oh, absolutely.
That actually protect trans people.
In every area. Housing, healthcare, jobs.
Education.
Everything.
And we got to keep fighting those bad laws.
Like the one we've been talking about, yeah.
The passport one.
Yeah, we got to support the groups fighting back.
Like the ACLU.
Exactly, and make sure our elected officials know what we think.
Use our voices.
Vote for people who will stand up for trans rights.
So it's education, advocacy, legal stuff, cultural change. It's all connected.
It's all part of it.
It's a lot.
It is, but there's hope. There are so many people working on this.
We're not alone.
We're in this together.
And even small things can make a difference.
Absolutely. Every little bit counts.
Donating, supporting trans businesses.
Volunteering, just learning more.
That's what I'm taking away from all this.
Yeah.
Feels huge, but we can all do something.
Exactly. No matter who you are, where you are.
We all have something to give.
And that's how we create change.
By working together.
Standing up for each other.
Making a world where everyone feels safe and seen.
And respected for who they truly are.
That's a world I want to live in.
Me too.
Well, that's about it for this deep dive.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
We did. Thanks for sticking with us.
Hope you learned something.
And feel inspired to take action.
Because even small steps can lead to big changes.
That's right. Thanks for listening, everyone.